People, how are we? Hopefully you're all doing well. I'm Tom. Let's talk about AJ versus Ngannou. AJ's back better than ever, right? First and foremost, talk about before the fight. Everyone's sitting there, oh, AJ's mentally fragile, doesn't sit on his shots enough, doesn't let his hands go enough. What happens when he gets caught clean? A lot of people were picking Ngannou to beat him. A lot of people were picking, well, a few people were picking Ngannou to beat him. But a lot of people were picking Otto Varden to beat AJ. I think he's proved a lot of the doubters wrong, right? He certainly sits down on his punches now a lot more than he used to. I think that kind of is obvious to see for most people watching. He's not afraid to let his hands go and really extend his arm through the target, which is great. Now, granted, he's still not been caught flush, and he hasn't been fighting somebody in the top 15 really, certainly not top 10 in Ngannou or Varlin or Hergovich, pardon me, or Helenius or Franklin, right? So there's still some questions there, but he certainly proved a lot of the doubters wrong, right? And then looking at the fight specifically, the Ngannou one this is, AJ's gone in there, like I'm sure he thought he was going to win. I'm sure he had a lot of confidence, right? But you don't fight somebody who's just done that to Tyson Fury without a little bit of, I don't know, because yes, he's a novice, but as AJ was saying, he's not novice to fighting. He's certainly not a novice to boxing. And he's just done that to Tyson Fury. So you have got to be thinking, he could catch me flush here. But he still, went in there and did his job. And I think looking at the fact he was supposed to be fighting Deontay Wilder, which he was, right? But Parker put a stop to that, which is why Ngannou jumped in. The exact same would have happened to Deontay Wilder. Now, I said I prefer Francis Ngannou for AJ. I think stylistically, Ngannou's easier than Wilder, just because Wilder's a lot more rangy. And Wilder's got a lot more experience, right? But there's no denying that Wilder isn't a boxer. In terms of, he's a power puncher, he can't box, he's not a great boxer. That's no secret. I'm not telling you something brand new here. Everybody knows that. Ngannou was the same, and their reach is similar, but obviously Wilder's a bit taller, a bit rangier. So, but I think on the whole, the exact same thing would have happened. Watching that AJ fight, the way AJ was using his jab and feinting to draw out responses for Ngannou and then reacting to that with counters, that's what made Ngannou switch to southpaw, right? Ngannou was having no success, getting tired of getting jabbed around and feint, so he switches to southpaw. That's an MMA tactic, right? And then AJ's thinking, well, hang on a second. I've just fought 24 rounds and 2 training camps and 2 years worth of my career dedicated towards the best southpaw, you don't compare to, in Alexander Usyk. Granted, coming up short, but still. And then I've done another training camp and 5 rounds with Otto Varlin and dealt with him quite comfortably. So yeah, I'm happy to play southpaw with you. Catches him through with a left hand, straight bang, catches him, and kind of goes, okay, I'm going back to orthodox now. And then AJ goes back to the game plan, catching out of feints. Comes in, catches him with a counter left hook, drops him, and then that's it. Game done, straight through him, the extended right arm to sleep. See you later. That, I think, would have happened to Wilder, because AJ's a counter puncher, counter combination puncher. That's why he got caught in the Ruiz fight. So he's not afraid to go in there and take a hit to get it. We saw it with the Helenius fight once he eventually figured him out, right? He's not scared of necessarily getting hit. Yes, Kay doesn't want to get hit clean, but he'll trade a few to land a few. And I think that would have happened to Wilder, and he would have put him to sleep, especially that Wilder that showed up against Parker. The exact same thing would have happened. Would have folded much like Ngannou, right? I want to give credit to Ben Davison, right? Obviously, AJ's trainer. I think his style, they match up and they marry quite comfortably. AJ's an overthinker. He's a self-proclaimed overthinker. He'd rather be an overthinker than an underthinker. Fair enough, right? And they seem to suit each other really well, because AJ overanalyzes things and he's with somebody who analyzes everything and comes up with game plans that AJ clearly has confidence and belief in. And I think in having that confidence and belief, he's able to go in there and execute the plan perfectly. That's why I would say that this AJ isn't old AJ. AJ is not back. This is a new AJ, right? I'll come back to that. But I just wanted to say that I think the analysis, that the confidence, the mental side of Ben Davison's sort of camps and training technique suits AJ phenomenally and gives him the confidence, right? The confidence in himself and in the game plan. It's great. It's working fantastically. That's obvious to see. And just touching on what I said there, I think this is a new version of AJ. So I don't think AJ's back. I don't think this is the old AJ coming back. I think if you look at his old fights, AJ's a knockout puncher. AJ's a knockout artist. There's no denying that. I'm not gonna deny that. If you really look at it, AJ never went looking for the knockout unless he got the knockdown. If he knocked you down or saw you were hurt, he would jump on you, right? But he wouldn't go out there like Deontay Wilder would and just solely hunt you down for the knockout. And especially as you see him start progressing further and further, that's kind of how it was. You look at the Dillian White fight, you look at the Klitschko fight, where he was hurt. He didn't go hunting the knockdown until he saw that person. He landed a punch on White, saw he was hurt, and would go for him, right? And that's something that I think is a bit of a misconception. Even against White and even against Klitschko, he wouldn't really sit on the punches the way he is now. He'd land flush, he'd land clean. But you look at the way he's like punching right through the target. Those practice punches he was doing with Ben Davison in the warm up. That's I think is a new thing. And he's always been somebody that would box and break you down. He did it to White, did it to Wilder, Klitschko. He's always been somebody that would break you down. Even Pulev, right? You look at when he fought Pulev, it was the same thing. He would break you down. He got him hurt in round 3, and he kind of jumped in after. And you might say, well, that was the old AJ or whatever, or the broken AJ. But this one I think is different. He's still a boxer. But that's what I'm saying. You look at Joe Parker. Joe Parker was pre-Andy Ruiz. When he fought Joseph Parker, pre-Andy Ruiz, that was, I'm going to box you. And he didn't go hunting the knockout. Parker just never got hurt. Whereas now I think he'd really try and sit on his punches and hurt Parker. You can box him, but you can box and hurt somebody. Because before, I think you just box, but because he's a heavy-handed hitter, he cut you. Oh, okay, cool. I'll jump on you now. And it obviously didn't happen against Parker. Happened against Ruiz was what happened. I think now he's doing a mixture. Now he really is sitting. He's boxing, saw against Ngannou, and he's also really sitting back on those punching and dazing punches and dazing his opponents. And that's pretty new. And you see it quite a lot. You could argue, Mike Tyson went to prison when he came out. They're two different fighters. Certainly, the best example of this I could think of is Floyd Mayweather. You got, Pretty Boy Floyd, how he boxed. Suddenly goes through whatever, it gets a bit older. I can't box with that anymore, injuries. And he becomes Floyd Money Mayweather. Money Mayweather versus Pretty Boy Floyd. Different fighters. They just are. Look at the start of his career, middle, and the end of his career. They just are. I think that's what we're seeing now. Now I don't know if it's peak AJ, and I think this probably is the best AJ you've ever seen. But I'll come back to that in a minute. But yeah, he's definitely a different fighter. I think you've got to say he's a different fighter now to who he was then. Again, I'm someone who's backed AJ for a very long time and backed him in this fight. But even I was thinking, I wanted to say early, but I just haven't seen enough to say that because he didn't get Franklin out of there. He didn't get, even back before Ruiz, he didn't get Parker out of there. These people that he should be or could have knocked out, he wasn't knocking out that early. Ruiz too. I was thinking, so that's why I think it'll go a bit later. But no, this new AJ will sit on his punches, outbox you, and just land clean. And that's why I think this is a new AJ that we haven't seen before. Not AJ back, but AJ better and AJ new. Granted, we still haven't seen AJ in there with a top 10, even a top 15 heavyweight, really. Franklin certainly wasn't that. And although I think that performance against Franklin will age like fine wine, and we're going to look back at it and go, he was a very good boxer, put on a very good boxing performance. It was the start of his rebuild. He banked 12 rounds, which is vital to him. I think it will age well, but there's no denying at that time and even now, he's probably not even a top 20 heavyweight, certainly not top 15 or top 10. Moves on to Helenius. Now you can cut him some slack, giving excuses. The knockout is what we all wanted, and it came, and it was great. And the first 7 rounds for me, I think is fine because you have to figure out an opponent. You aren't sparring for him, so you've gone in there essentially blind, and obviously he would have had flashbacks to Ruiz, and done the job in 7 rounds and got the clean knockout. But it took longer than it should have, and he looked a bit hesitant and didn't want to get caught. And again, Helenius isn't a top 10 or a top 15 guy. So there's that question. And now Ngannou, and regardless of which way you slice the cake, or the pie, or whatever, you know what I mean? After that Fury performance, Ngannou's not a top 10 guy. He just isn't. I said, I'm not changing my tune now that AJ's out of him. The WBC ranking Ngannou inside the top 10 was a joke. Absolutely ridiculous. I get how he looked against Fury, and Fury's your champion, but come on. That is ridiculous. And I'm not changing my tune now. He's not a top 10 guy. He's not a top 15 guy. Probably not a top 20 guy. Could he have beaten guys in the top 10, top 15? I think he'd get the better of Wilder, to be honest. But that's not, that's neither here nor there. He's not a top 10, 15, or even 20 guy. Otto Wallin, probably top 20. perhaps an argument for top 15, but not a top 10 guy. You know what I mean? We've still got to see him in there with the likes of a top 10, top 15 guy. And we still do need to see what happens when he gets clipped. Will we? I don't know, because the way he is now, if he fights Ngannou, Usyk's not a heavy-handed puncher. Fury isn't really either. So what happens when he gets clipped? Who knows, right? But I want to see him in there with a higher level opponent. If you can go in there with top 10, top 5, top 15 level guys and still not get hit and was asking the same question, what happens, what happens, what happens, that's where the credit begins, right? So let's slow the brakes. Again, for me, I think, I said this before the Ngannou fight, my rankings for heavyweights is Usyk, AJ, Fury. Then you got a Parker probably. I think AJ's a top 5 guy. It's hard to argue that. Is he the best? I mean, Eddie Hearns is the best heavyweight on the planet. 1, you got Usyk out there beating him. But 2, since he's lost Usyk, he's not fought anyone of that world level, that championship level caliber. So let's pump the brakes on the AJ hype train until we see that, right? Which we will, and I think he'll prove us right and prove a point. And on that note, who next? Daniel Dubois? I think not. I think if I'm Dubois, I'm sitting it out. I'm letting AJ, Usyk, Fury, Joyce, Zhang kind of battle it out for the remaining couple of years of their career. And Hrgovic even took him in there. Let them battle it out. As they get towards the end of their careers, then you can look at fighting them. Or once they've retired, jump in against someone like a Parker who's a bit younger, and then you can become champion. So I think for Dubois, you swerve that. You keep rebuilding it since the Usyk loss. You keep rebuilding it, right? Great path after the Miller win. And you got a Zhang. I just think AJ batters Zhang. I think he ruins him. I think if I'm Zhang, I don't want that. Especially after losing to Parker, I don't want that. I think it doesn't really help AJ too much. So I'd swerve that. Joyce is coming off a loss. Needs to rebuild his career, so that's kind of that done. Parker, I wouldn't mind seeing a Parker 3. Parker 2, rather. Wouldn't mind seeing AJ Parker 2, and that'd be a really good fight. Parker seems like he's coming into his peak. AJ seems like he's coming into his peak. Both great. I've got them right next to each other. Looking at it objectively, not my opinion, looking at it objectively, you got to have it Usyk or Fury, whichever way you want it. Both undefeated, both worked hard to get there. One beating Wilder 3 times, twice really. One beating AJ twice, objectively. Do you know what I mean? So whichever you have it. Then for me, you've got an AJ who's only lost to the guy above him, and you got a Parker for me. So they're top 4, top 5 guys battling out. I'd love to see that. I don't think you will, because 1, Parker's got the rematch with Zhang, and 2, I don't think AJ would do that. He wants to become a 3-time champion, right? And then you got Hrgovic, and if you beat Hrgovic, well, guess what? You get his IBF mandatory. And potentially when it happens, you might even get the mandatory IBF belt. So that, for me, is where you look. And Hrgovic, I think AJ walks over Hrgovic. Just do. I think AJ takes Hrgovic's head off. Don't even think it's close. I think he takes his head off, right? But if I'm AJ, I sit it out, right? I wait. I wait until Usyk and Fury have had their little kerfuffle and see what the fallout from that is. Now, should he know, because it should happen in Feb 17th? Yeah. Did it happen? No. So does he know? No. So what would I do? I'd sit back, give it a second, and go, right, you two have a little bobbity bot, see what happens there, right? That's what I'm stepping aside, right? I look at the result on May 18th, and I'm going to Turkey, Al Sheikh. Look, please, Your Excellency, pay the loser step aside money, and I'll jump in there with the winner, and I'll take on the winner for another, for the hopefully undisputed. That's what I'm doing if I'm AJ. And what I want to happen is for it to be Fury, because Fury is British first and foremost, but also if he wins, imagine AJ Fury for all the marbles at Wembley. Boy, oh boy, a man can dream, right? Just imagine that happens. Fury beats Usyk, pays some step aside money, and they fight at Wembley. Or even wherever the fuck it is. I think that's what is likely to happen if Fury wins. What might happen is they fight, they can't sort the rematch, so the step aside can't be sorted, in which case they rematch, the bout gets vacated, AJ fights Hrgovic for the vacant IBF, wins, gets the IBF, and again, provided Fury beats Usyk, or whoever wins, has a remainder of the bout, and then suddenly you've got another undisputed title fight, AJ versus Fury or Usyk, for the undisputed again. And hopefully, again, if that does happen, they win the rematch. Fury wins the rematch again. AJ's got the IBF, so then it's Fury versus AJ again at Wembley. That's what I look at doing. So I think he only takes Hrgovic on if the rematch happens and they have to, well, even if they don't have to vacate, if they have to vacate the IBF, yeah, he'll take Hrgovic on for the vacant IBF. Fantastic. If the rematch doesn't happen, then I think he goes for that. And even if they don't have to vacate the, even if they rematch and don't have to vacate the IBF, I still think he'll fight Hrgovic for a keep busy fight. But I if I were him, I'm chasing the either the rematch of Usyk or the Fury fight straight after the fight and pay some step aside money. I don't know which will happen. I'd rather Fury because British heavyweight, right? And that also sets up a humongous fight for AJ Fury. And to be fair, even if Usyk beats Fury, it's still a massive fight, huge fight, just no belts. So I'm to be honest, I'm chasing that Fury fight, regardless of the outcome. If Fury beats Usyk, I'm chasing that Fury fight. If Usyk beats Fury, I'm chasing that Fury fight again because it's, I'll beat the guy who also lost to the guy who beat me, and then I'll chase the guy who beat me after. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, to sum it up, for me, look, let's see a Parker, a Joyce, a Zhang, a Hrgovic, a Bacoli, a Sanchez, even a Dubois. Let's just see one of these fights before we make up our minds and say just how great AJ is, right? How I think it will happen? Well, like I said, I think if I'm AJ, I'm sitting out till May 18th, see the result and chase the winner. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Anyway, people, I've been rambling for far too long in this video. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like, a comment, and a subscribe. People, you know how YouTube works. Peace.